Let's do a quick review of adding fractions and decimals so that way you can operate with them whether they're positive or negative using the same rules as integers. So here we go. All fractions must have common denominators, right? If we're putting them together or taking them apart, they have to be the same size pieces. So here we have 3/5 plus 3/2. Fifths and halves are not the same. Do you know which ones are bigger? If you said halves, you're right. They're larger pieces. So I'm thinking fifths and halves. What is a common size that they could be cut into? What's a common denominator? Oh, tenths. Now I'm going to rewrite them into tenths. So these are equivalent fractions. I'm not changing the size of them at all. I'm just renaming them. Fifths to tenths, that would be cutting all the fifths in half. So times 2. I would have to do the same to the numerator. 3 times 2 would be 6. 3/5 is equivalent to 6/10. Next one, 3/2 equals how many tenths? Well, I would take those halves and I would cut them into fifths each. So they'd all become size tenths. That's times 5 times 5. Wow, that'd be 15 pieces of size tenths. 3/2 equals 15 tenths. Now that they are the same size, guess what? I can definitely put them together. 6/10 plus another 15 tenths would be how many tenths altogether? If you are thinking 21 pieces, you are right. It'd be a lot. And I can rewrite this into a mixed number if I wanted to. 21 pieces of size tenths would be the same as 2 wholes and an extra 1/10 piece. Decimal rules. If we're adding or subtracting decimals, we need to make sure that those place values are lined up, just like we do with whole numbers. Ones go with ones, tens go with tens, etc. So same with decimals. Hundredths have to be lined up with hundredths, tenths have to be lined up with tenths, and so on. So here we go. I'm going to take my first one, 32 hundredths. I'm going to add it to 12 and 965 thousandths, and then 1 whole and 1/10. You notice the decimal point is lined up. The reason for that is if the decimal points are lined up, I know all of my place values are lined up. And then just something that's helpful is just kind of filling in those empty spaces with zeros just for organizational purposes, if it helps. And then here we go. We're ready to add. 0, 5, and 0. Okay, so 5 thousandths so far. This 2 hundredths and 6 hundredths would be 8 hundredths. 3 and 9 and 1, that would be 13 tenths. So that's another whole. So I add it to the ones. 1 and 2 and 1, that makes 4. And then 1/10, drop it down here. So we've got 14 and 385 thousandths as our final answer.